And thank you so much. We do apologize profusely for that break there. And that's really owing to technical issues here within the chamber, the Parliament chamber. We did have some issues with the recording system. And as we know that the Parliament, the microphones being used by the members of Parliament, that is attached to a recording device, and that is what is Hansard. You'll be familiar with that. And from time to time, that system can be, a little bug or two within that system. That has been resolved, and we are now awaiting the Speaker of the House to return to the chamber so that the session can resume. The Honorable Prime Minister Philip JPR was in mid-delivery of the estimates, and we are hoping that not too long from now that will recommence. And just a few moments away, we can see some activity there happening on the floor, and the Prime Minister using the time to be able to confer with the Attorney General, Honorable Leslie Mondesi. The Prime Minister has thus far outlined and give us a comprehensive overview of the preceding estimates in for the preceding financial year, and he has indicated that, for example, that for this financial year there will be the largest budget, $1.842 billion, pardon me, largest budget in the history of St. Lucia, and that budget is really underpinned by being to improving the socio-economic standing of St. Lucians. So, for example, there's a $20.46 million allocation for the public assistance program, reflecting a $9.6 million increase over the last financial year. So there is as well a budget of $464,000 that is going to go towards the training for members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, and which is critical at this time, given that the police force is being looked upon for the security and safety of St. Lucia. The Prime Minister also did indicate that some $1 million has been set aside for the distress fund, and the distress fund has been spoken about quite often by the government of St. Lucia, and that fund is to be able to assist St. Lucians who have been stricken by events, that unforeseen events, disasters, much like fires, and so now there is that re-establishment of the distress fund with a $1 million allocation. The Prime Minister also did indicate that the promised salary increase for public servants that will be met come April ending. The Prime Minister being very firm that the government of St. Lucia will do all within its power to ensure that the standard of living for St. Lucians is certainly not just maintained during this very difficult financial times that the world is facing, but certainly to improve on what those conditions are, especially for the vulnerable. We are just a few moments again away from the recommencement of the presentation by the Prime Minister, the estimate of revenue and expenditure for 2022-2023. And we see now that more and more individuals are returning to their seats as the 5-minute break elapses. And we will take a very, very short break as we await the arrival of the Speaker of the House.
Mr. Minister for Finance, you may continue. We do apologize for that break in continuity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to put on the record, when I spoke of the increase for civil servants, the increase is in April this year. That is next month, Mr. Speaker. The civil servants will get the increase. And further, Mr. Speaker, the civil servants will get part of their back pay in December 2022, the first tranche, a back pay in December this year, and the second tranche will be in March 2023, Mr. Speaker. So I repeat, civil servants, the increase is in April, that is in your pay packets this month, April next month, and next month your increase will be in the bank, and your back pay will be there, the first tranche in December 2022 and the second tranche in March 2023. And Mr. Speaker, the Swift Justice Project, which is aimed at reducing the backlog of cases. Let me just read the breakdown again, Mr. Speaker. Salaries and wages, 487,100. Traveling, 135,000. Stationery and supplies, 81,500. Electricity and water, 63,000. Rental and hire, 1 million. Operation and maintenance, 12,000, and equipment, 456,000. So this is the Swift Justice Project to reduce the backlog of cases in the system, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to some expenses from the Department of Home Affairs and National Security. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 1.824,500,000 to be spent on repairs to the Bordelais Correctional Facility. 1.039 million earmarked for the removal and replacement of the chain link fencing and replacement of cell locks and one-out keys at the facility. 785,000 is earmarked for the replacement of skylights and the repair of the inmate toilets, repairs to the metal stairs in the units, and purchase and installation of hot water heaters for the laundry, kitchen, and medical units. There will also be some renovation done to the staff quarters, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, still on police and crime, and repairs to police stations, 4.776 million. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, you may recall that the custody suites were taken away. We have earmarked 1.337 million for the retrofitting of temporary holding cells at the police headquarters on top of this street. 2.7 million for the urgent repairs to the roof of the Viewfort police station. And 738,000 for the general repair work to various police island-wide facilities throughout the island, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the government is trying to not only talk, but have some tangible increase in expenditure for the police, so that we appreciate their work, so they can not only have more comfortable environment to work in, Mr. Speaker, but they can get some training and some equipment, including vehicles, which they need, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I should also add some of the increases in grants and contributions that we are making in this budget, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Folk Research Center, the building got damaged. And we are beginning by giving them an allocation of $50,000 to help them to begin to prepare their plans, etc., for their new building. $50,000, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, hope from the Ministry of Equity, Mr. Speaker. We are financing hope in the sum of $2.764 million, Mr. Speaker. This St. Lucie home, Mr. Speaker, we are increasing the allocation to $140,000. There is a new program, Mr. Speaker, Our Boys Matter, to halt the boys seem to be becoming, and some of them are going astray, Mr. Speaker. We have programmed $223,000 for the Our Boys Matter program. Still in the Ministry of Equity, Mr. Speaker, apart from the housing program of $10 million in the Ministry of Housing, we are programming $1.316 million for housing assistance to the poor, the disabled, and the differently able and the poor. Educational assistance, Mr. Speaker, we are programming another $1.824 million for educational assistance, Mr. Speaker. That is in addition to this financial year, we are going to continue the payment of facility fees in the sum of $2.358 million, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, payment of mathematics and English TXC will continue this year in the sum of $270,554. Mr. Speaker, there's an organization called the Child Development and Guidance Center. I think it's located at La Clery, doing human service, Mr. Speaker. And it's really touching to see the work that's done up there. The government showing appreciation for the efforts. We are increasing the subvention by $150,000, Mr. Speaker, from $230,000 to $380,000 for the Child Development Center, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the Faces of Cancer, we are giving them a contribution of $10,000, Mr. Speaker. And we are also increasing the contribution to the St. Lucia Cancer Society to $40,000. Contribution to the St. Lucia Diabetic and Hypertensive Association to $50,000, Mr. Speaker. And to Feed the Poor Ministry, $20,000. Mr. Speaker, the National Sports Elite Athlete Education Assistance, we are increasing it from $60,000 to $110,000. And the National Youth Council, we're increasing there to $52,000, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Fashion Council, the St. Lucia Fashion Council, we are giving them a contribution of $90,000 this year, Mr. Speaker. And the St. Lucia Bakers Association, they are getting a contribution of $30,000 to help them to establish their organization, make some changes so that we can see what happens, how that manifests itself in the prices, Mr. Speaker. The St. Lucia National Trust, this year we are returning the $700,000 for them. Mr. Speaker, that is a summary of the increases in the grants, Mr. Speaker, that we are doing this year, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I just want to make it clear again that the civil servants increase is going to be in April 2022. And the back pay, the first tranche, is going to be in December 2022, and the second tranche in March 2023. Mr. Speaker, let me once again take the opportunity to thank the people of St. Lucia for the confidence and the patience and the confidence they have reposed in us to lead this country, Mr. Speaker, out of its current economic circumstances. Mr. Speaker, we are a different team. We are a team of St. Lucians who understand the plight of St. Lucia. None of us were born with a golden spoon. None of us were privileged to be able to live a certain lifestyle, Mr. Speaker. We are children of ordinary and regular people, Mr. Speaker. And we understand the plight of ordinary people, Mr. Speaker. And this is why this budget, these estimates, Mr. Speaker, reflect that philosophical underpinning, Mr. Speaker, to put people first, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt that the achievements made since assuming office will continue to be felt in the months ahead, as we work steadily and tirelessly towards accelerated recovery following the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, as the allocations program in this budget indicates, we intend to continue to tackle the challenges with boldness and confidence. We remain optimistic, assured and rooted in our resolve to maintain economic stability and chart a path to sustainable growth and development. We will pursue the initiatives and programs funded in this budget to bring transformative change that will impact lives and livelihoods of our citizens and will put the people first. We have approached this budget with the understanding that the current circumstances, domestic, regional, international, within which we operate, and we are strengthening our belief that while current resources may be insufficient to meet the needs of all, our collective potential and our resolve to put our economy on a path of broad-based inclusive growth will empower our people and propel us forward. Mr. Speaker, I would like to extend my thanks to all the civil servants in the ministries, departments, and agencies of government that have contributed to the successful completion of the budget process. Particularly those with direct responsibility for the preparation and compilation of the estimates of revenue, Mr. Speaker. And I want to express my thanks and appreciation to the staff of the Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and the Youth Economy, who spearheaded this process, Mr. Speaker, and brought this exercise to a successful completion. Mr. Speaker, I've attended several meetings with the staff of the Ministry of Finance, and I can attest to their professionalism, Mr. Speaker. And all what I can say is I thank them for their resolve and their belief in doing their job as public servants, not for my benefit, but for the benefit of the people of St. Lucia. And I thank them, Mr. Speaker. I thank them sincerely for that. I have respected their professionalism. I have not intimidated them. I have not insulted them. I have not told them to know their place. All I've done is I've taken their advice, Mr. Speaker, and together we've created that budget and will continue to do so during this term of government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the staff of the Parliament, Mr. Speaker, the staff of the Parliament for the work that they've been doing, Mr. Speaker. All the staff, and you, Mr. Speaker, and the police and the security people who have worked with us during this budget, Mr. Speaker. Finally, the National Printing Corporation, Mr. Speaker, who have printed these estimates under tremendous pressure, Mr. Speaker. The staff of the Office of the Prime Minister, who again have worked tirelessly, Mr. Speaker. My press secretary, my personal assistant, and my secretary, who have worked relentlessly to get me here today, Mr. Speaker. I only have thanks and gratitude to them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Finally, I want to thank my colleagues for the way we've worked together, Mr. Speaker. It's a group of men and women who have one purpose in mind: to improve the quality of life of the people of St. Lucia. And all all the rumors, all the anticipation of discord and disunity, Mr. Speaker. We are stronger than ever, and we will continue to work for the benefit of the people of St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I thank my colleagues for allowing me the opportunity to present the 2023 estimates of revenue and expenditure to this honorable House and by extension to the people of St. Lucia. I so move.
Honorable members, the question is that the Honorable House of Assembly do adopt the report of the Standing Finance Committee on the estimates of expenditure for the financial year 2022-2023 in the sum of $1,842,813,200, and do agree that the said sum do form a charge against the consolidated fund and other funds of the state of St. Lucia. Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House stands adjourned until Wednesday, March 30th, 2022 at 10 a.m., Mr. Speaker.
Before I put the question, members, may I join with the Minister for Finance and Prime Minister in, first of all, thanking you, the members, who took time off your very busy schedule yesterday to attend a very important occasion, the funeral service of slain officer Nathan Timet. I think the family appreciated seeing so many members of Parliament present. So thank you very much. I wanted to thank the members of the Printry. In fact, last night somebody asked me if the Printry still operates. Well, the Parliament would not be able to operate were it not for the efficiency of the Printry. Up to this morning, we got amendments to the estimates that the Printry printed in record time and passed on to all members. So our thanks to the management and staff of the Printry. Our police officers, again, as I said earlier, it could not have been easy for our police officers after such a ceremony yesterday to make it here today to not only protect the members of Parliament, but to provide other useful services. So thank you very much to the Commissioner and members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. And the staff of the Parliament, I'm directing that to a particular member. The staff of the Parliament, the best staff in the entire government service. I want to thank them for all the work they have done, all the late hours, all of the due diligence they have performed. Thank you very much to my staff. Honorable members, the question is that this House do stand adjourned until Wednesday, March 30th at 10 a.m. And now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Sitting adjourned.
Well, there you have it. The estimates of expenditure for the financial year 2022-23 in the sum of $1,842,813,200 as a charge against the consolidated and other funds of the state of St. Lucia. The debate on the estimates will begin at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Earlier today, this morning, we heard from the throne speech delivered by Acting Governor General Errol Charles. I am Winston Springer. Lisa?
Thank you very much for that. And just to slightly recap for you, we did hear from the Prime Minister that we have in the range of $4.776 million for repairs of police stations island-wide, and as we have been saying all day, that certainly the state of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, juxtaposed that with the work it has to do with the safety and security of the nation. The government is committed to providing all of the resources necessary to enable the police force to meet that mandate. Also, there's some $1.337 million that has been set aside for the retrofitting of temporary cells, and that really is sort of the custody suites, creating that holding space for suspects, persons to be detained by the police for questioning and so forth. The Prime Minister did detail assistance that the government is going to be given to non-governmental organizations. The Folk Research Center, for example, is receiving some $50,000, which he explained is going to help it sort of prepare its plan for rebuilding. Let's not forget that the FRC, that its home, its headquarters, had been gutted by fire, and so that is to go towards the rebuilding process. Some $140,000 to the St. Lucy's home. It has been doing great work for St. Lucia senior citizens. The Our Boys Matter program receiving some $283,000. For the vulnerable, they're within the Ministry of Equity, Social Transformation and Empowerment. There is some $1.361 million that has been set aside for the housing assistance for the vulnerable. A further $1.824 million for the educational assistance program, and that of course falls within, I do believe, for the Social Development Fund, the SSDF. The government has recommitted to paying the facility, not facility fees, but the CXC fees for students. And remember that the government fulfilled a promise for CXC fee payments for mathematics and English for the Form 5 students, and it will be doing so again to the tune of $2.358 million. The government has also increased subvention for one of the institutions that does miraculous work with children with special needs and disabilities, and that is the Child Guidance Development Center. It's going to receive more than $100,000 of an increase in its annual subvention, taking it to over $300,000 for the year. The Faces of Cancer receiving support as well from the government of St. Lucia with a $10,000 contribution. The Cancer Society also receiving $40,000. The St. Lucia Diabetic and Hypertension Association receiving $50,000, and the Feed the Poor Ministry there receiving $20,000. The St. Lucia Fashion Council, which has been doing work with St. Lucia's young and aspiring designers, models, and so forth, receiving some $90,000 there for it to continue its work. And as you heard from Winston Springer, the debate on the estimates begins Wednesday morning, that's at 10 a.m. We want to thank you for being with us throughout this day, and we are looking forward to providing you with another day of coverage come Wednesday, March 30th, 2022, when the debate on the estimates and revenue of expenditure for 2022-2023 begins. On behalf of Winston Springer, Primus Hutchinson, and all of the team here, the GIS team, I am Mr. Joseph, thanking you for watching.